I'm back. It's been a while. I've become obsessed with books recently. I have a bookstagram, but I'm making a booktube video because I have nothing else to do in my life. So today I'm going to be going through what I read in April and May because I read 2 books in May. So just a disclaimer quickly, you do not have to read a load to be a valid reader or even be able to make a bookstagram. You could read 10 books in a year and you'd still be obviously a valid reader. It didn't matter if it takes you 6 months to finish a book. You're still a reader. You're still appreciated, okay? Okay, so the first book I read in April was Ignite Me by Tahir Mafi. Ignite Me is basically the 3rd book in the series of the Shatter Me series, and it follows Juliet, and they have to help. There's like rebels. I'll just read you the blurb. Everyone Juliet has ever cared about may be dead. The rebels, her friends, and even Adam could all be gone. But that won't keep her from trying to take down the re-establishment once and for all. So this plot is basically about Juliet, after all her friends are like... I'm trying not to spoil it, but the plot is basically, oh look, I'm gonna take down a government by myself at the ripe old age of 17, and with my lovely destroy powers that I magically was able to control in a week. But I love Juliet, but she's predictable. Also, Adam Kent, I want to say it lightly, just like not associate with that man anymore. This man does not exist in these books. Ignite Me, in the end, I gave I think it was like 4.5 out of 5, just because it was the best book in the series. It was the only one I tabbed, but good book, good plot. It was fast paced, unlike like most of the other books in the series. So yeah, 4.5 out of 5. The next book I read in April was the 4th book in the series, Restore Me. This one is also really slow. It's also by Tahir Mafi, and it's just, again, one of those books that you're like, I have to read it because it's part of the series, but it was just so slow, and it was just basically recapping everything that's happened and then adding a week's worth of content in it, and it was just, like, it was all lead up to a fight that lasted about, like, 30 pages, and then it was over, and I was like, that's it. I read this entire book for 30 pages of a war. I need something, but yeah. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5, just because it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, because obviously the standards were raised by Ignite Me, so yes, 3.5 out of 5 for this book. Next thing I read was all of the Heartstoppers. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the other ones are on Webtoon, so I read all of that on Webtoon, and I was like, do you know what, I need these books for my shelf, and they're really expensive at the moment, so I've only got the first 3, but the Heartstopper volumes are by Alice Oseman, and they are currently on Netflix, which is, I love the Netflix show, which is why I read them, because my friends were all like excited about the show, and I'd never heard of Heartstopper before, because I was kind of like new to the book community again. The plot of the books follow a teenage boy who has a crush on another teenage boy who is straight, and it's basically just a really heartwarming coming of age, like romance. Like, unlike most queer representation in books, there isn't someone who dies at the end. We don't talk about those books, okay? They are traumatic. It got kind of serious in book 3. Book 3 was really scary, but these are rereads that I'm doing at the moment, because book number 1, obviously they all got 5 stars, but I've tabbed book number 1, which took me an hour. I was so dedicated to the cause that I sat at my desk and just flew through it, because I love these books so much with my entire heart and soul. Doing the same with book 2 at the moment. I'm currently on this page of rereading it with my lovely butterfly bookmark I made. But yeah, again, this one got a 5 out of 5, because again, really good book. I love these are my babies. Alice Oseman created the best little graphic novels in the entire world. And then obviously, this is the 3rd book. I haven't reread it yet, because I got it a week ago. But yeah, love these books, and the entire series got a 5 out of 5 for me. The next book I read was a continuation of the Shatter Me series. This is the 5th book in the series. This is Defy Me. This one was so unbelievably slow. It covered a week's worth of content, I think. Or it's just, without spoiling it too much, it's like, oh, one person gets kidnapped and so does the other person, and then they find each other and then they run away and now they're being attacked from where they are, and it's just, it takes so long to do one thing. And I understand the book is kind of there as a way to introduce new characters into the plot, but it was just so, you know what I mean? It was just so basic. The plot was predictable. There was always something oh my gosh, there was only one thing that surprised me, and I hated that plot twist. My entire heart hates that plot twist. When you read this book, if you read this book, which I suggest you read the series because Aaron Warner is an icon, but when you get to the plot twist in this book, you'll know what one plot twist I'm talking about there. You're like, why did this need to be here? There was no reason for this to happen. But yeah, it was a good book, and I gave it, I think, a 3.5 out of 5, just because it wasn't as good as the other ones. But Tahir Mafi is an icon for creating these books, honestly. She's pretty good at making enemies to lovers difficult, but yeah, it's a good book. Very good. Indeed. But yeah, 3.5 out of 5 for this book. Finally, on the last thing I read, was The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This book follows the plot of someone called Avery, and she inherits a load of money from a guy that she's never met before, and she tries to figure out a puzzle with the 4 brothers, the Hawthorne brothers, who were supposed to get the money. And it's all about figuring it out and learning backstories about the characters, and it's, as it says on the back, "Having blend of family secrets, illicit romance and high stakes, the non-stop twists keep me guessing until the very last page." I agree with that, okay? Catherine McGee summed it up brilliantly. There are so many plot twists in this. I was reading it with my breath caught, prepared for another thing to be thrown at me, and I was trying to solve the mystery as it went along. And the last plot twist in this book, I was visibly gasping, okay? I was sitting next to my parents going, okay, it was so good. So I gave this book a 4.5, 4.7 out of 5, because it's not the best book I've ever read in my entire life, but it is a book I hold dear to my heart because it's good, but I was concerned slightly because I'd read reviews where it was incesty. I'm so confused by the family tree that I cannot tell you if it is or not. I suggest googling it, but by the end of this I was excited to read the second book, which is what I am currently reading right now, which is The Hawthorne Legacy. But yeah, I give this book a 4.7 out of 5. So overall this month, if there was one book or book series that I would recommend that you read, it is the Heartstoppers series by Alice Oseman. It is great at queer representation. It's also just the love of my life, okay? You do not understand how much this has helped me, healed me, and it's also really good at showing the process of what a lot of LGBTQ plus teenagers go through, because obviously I've been through what they went through, well, Nick went through, because I also had to figure out my sexuality, and that was not fun. But yeah, I think it's a really sweet way of introducing anyone to how teenagers feel when they find out they're not straight, and they are one of my favourite books I've ever read. So if you want to have a read of something that's light-hearted and just makes your heart feel warm, which is why it's called Heartstopper, because it stops your heart sometimes, to recommend any series to read, it would definitely be this one. This soon, because we're going to be in June, which is Pride Month, so you know, LGBTQ. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know in the comments, and like this video. I don't really know what any of it does, but if it helps the algorithm, that'd be great. If you want to see more of my book content, please consider subscribing, and I will hopefully try and upload a little more than I was before. But yeah, hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all later. Bye!